This is Everything to Watch, your monthly guide for what's new and worthwhile. We're taking a look at Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, HBO, and all the other places bringing you quality entertainment in May. I'm Zach, that's Arturo, and that's Fernando. Let's get to it. Starting with virtual theaters, the best way to support your local movie theater on May 1st. Deerskin and Infiltrators in the following week. We're getting Driveways as well as Clementine. But there's also a bunch of VOD releases starting on May 1st. Tammy's Always Dying, then Ordinary Love and The Lodge. The following week, How to Build a Girl, The Photograph with Issa Rae and Lakeith Stanfield, as well as Capone, Josh Trank's return to filmmaking after Fan Four Stick. We got Scoob going straight to VOD, as well as Castle in the Ground on May 15th, and then The Trip to Greece the week after that.
For me, I don't know how many of you guys were able to catch Tammy. That was a TIFF movie that I think had an incredible performance by Felicity Huffman, who could not be there during the TIFF Q&A. But there's also The Lodge, that I think you guys did catch. That was a Sundance horror film coming from the people who did Goodnight Mommy. A little bleak for a lot of people, but I think that's going to be a pretty good VOD pick, unless you want to wait for it for Hulu, which I think will be there in a couple of months considering its neon release. But if we're talking about the virtual cinema stuff, which like Zach said, it's the only companies going 50-50 with the independent theaters. It's not Universal. It's not Warner Bros. It's these smaller companies, and I know Deerskin was a really big pick. What was the other one that you had mentioned right after Deerskin?
The Infiltrators, when we saw at Sundance.
It's half documentary, half real life. So you'll have the real life conversation in one scene, and then when they reverse it to the other side, it's an actor playing the obvious footage they couldn't get from inside the detention camp. Very interesting movie. And again, all of those films are out right now where you can go 50-50. So a theater could be supported. So when all this is over, you will have a seat because AMC says they don't want to be here. So I don't know. What are your picks?
Yeah, Infiltrators is really interesting. Like you said, 50-50 doc and narrative. So if you've seen something like American Animals, it's kind of similar to that.
Hey. Yep.
Was at Sundance. Recommend it if you want to support the theater. And then for VOD, Josh Trank, Capone, that's really interesting to me. Hasn't made a movie in a while. And it's Tom Hardy playing Al Capone. So I'm probably going to check that out from the VOD ones.
Mm-hmm. And that was the one that was called Fonzo, right?
Yeah, Fonzo. Original title.
Originally, yeah. Once upon a time, Josh Trank was the guy who made Chronicle, one of the more exciting superhero-adjacent movies. So he's still an exciting young filmmaker to some people. I'd be very curious to see what he's got in store in Capone. On May 1st, we get a whole crop of new movies for Netflix. Back to the Future 2, Charlie and Willy Wonka and Their Chocolate Factories, Den of Thieves, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, School of Rock and Sinister, as well as some Netflix originals, All Day and a Night. The half of it, the recent Tribeca Award winner that they picked up, as well as the Ryan Murphy series Hollywood. After that, we've got Workin' Moms coming back for its 4th season. Then on May 8th, 2 new TV shows drop, The Eddie and the 2nd season of Dead to Me. We also got the interactive Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt special on May 12th, The Wrong Missy on May 13th, District 9 coming after that, Control Z and The Lovebirds both drop on May 22nd. Then Uncut Gems is after that, and May 29th we get Space Force. But Netflix has also got a couple stand-up specials in May. Jerry Seinfeld, 23 Hours to Kill, Patton Oswalt, I Love Everything, and Hannah Gadsby returns with a special called Douglas.
Interesting. I am very curious to see what the Office guys have been hyping up with Space Force. And Control Z is another really tiny one that I'm going to be curious to see how it develops, as it's a teenager who's trying to figure out who is stalking them through social media. But the top 3 that I got to go for is the movie Den of Thieves. Pretty decent rented. It's available to stream, and there's a sequel coming out. So if you want to hop on it, get on it while it's still free on Netflix. Uncut Gems. It's been there for the international viewers, and finally, the Americans in New York can see who Howard Ratner is. But my number one's got to be Dead to Me. Dead to Me Season 2 is probably one of my most anticipated things coming out of Netflix, because Season 1 was one of my favorite things, and I still stand it was one of the best, 2 of the best performances of last year. What about you guys?
For me, I know how much you love Dead to Me, but equally, I've been super excited for The Eddie, because that's Damien Chazelle's new series. Obviously, Whiplash, La La Land, and seeing him transition to TV is going to be really interesting. A lot of feature filmmakers have been moving to TV recently. And besides that, I would say Netflix picking up The Lovebirds is really interesting. Obviously, that theatrical release got cut short because of COVID. They picked it up, which is really cool to see. And you know, Camille, I love The Big Sick, so I'm really interested to see this next comedy.
You'll finally see what Issa Rae does.
Yeah,
in that trailer.
Did she take the bacon grease?
It's been killing you. What about you, Zach?
I can't wait to watch Uncut Gems again, the masterful Adam Sandler performance, and the anxious Safdie brothers movie. I'm really excited to go there. But what sounds like a really good time right now is spending time with Andre Holland in a Parisian jazz club, and doing that under the direction of Damien Chazelle in The Eddy sounds like a good watch to me. Also curious about the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt interactive special, because we've seen Netflix do this with Black Mirror and Bandersnatch. Here they're applying it instead of to a dramatic thriller, a very silly comedy. I don't know if it's going to have the same weight, but it could be a fun and different type of experience from Netflix. Then on Hulu, on May 8th, we are getting Solar Opposites, the new show from Rick and Morty co-creator Justin Roiland. It's got a very similar vibe from its trailer, but also on May 8th, the new episode of Into the Dark, Delivered, as well as the documentary Spaceship Earth. On May 15th, The Great, starring Elle Fanning and Nick Holt, as well as the Bon Appetit shows go live on Hulu that day. The week after that, it's The Painter and the Thief, and then the week after that, Rami's second season is unveiled.
Look, Painter and the Thief was one that slipped away at Sundance. Definitely want to catch that doc. I have not shut up about Rami season 1. Probably won't shut up about Rami season 2. But my top 3 goes a little thriller from TIFF. Takes place in Niagara Falls, called The Disappearance of Clifton Hill. I think a lot of people may enjoy this one. It also stars Cronenberg Sr. as a podcaster, so he's acting just like us. Spaceship Earth, we got a screener for, also from Sundance, and it is a very interesting documentary that's going to be on Hulu that comes from the people from Neon, if I'm not mistaken. But Rocket Man. I think we got Rocket Man in multiple places that you'll be able to watch. And if there's a joyful movie that can get your mind off things, it's one of the best musicals of last year. That if the previous one went all the way to the Oscars, I was really hoping Taron was able to take it. Wasn't able to, but now he's in your home. What about you guys?
All right, so I'm also pretty excited for the 2 documentaries coming on Hulu, Spaceship Earth and Painter and the Thief. I believe both of them are Neon, and Neon has a pretty good track record with documentaries. If you guys seen our Neon bracket, you know that. And also Solar Opposites. I'm a big Rick and Morty fan, so I'm interested to see this new series by Justin Roiland. Hopefully it's as good as Rick and Morty is.
Yeah, it looks a lot like if Family Guy is to American Dad what Rick and Morty is to Solar Opposites. Like, that should be good news for Rick and Morty fans, because it's more of the same humor. So I'm definitely interested in checking that one out too. As for Amazon in May, on May 1st, the series uploads its first season. Then May 8th, you get The Goldfinch, as well as a comedy special from Jimmy O. Yang called Good Deal. After that, Alias, the complete series, is available, as well as a new show called The Last Narc. On May 15th, the Kristen Stewart movie Seberg, and the week after that, Rocket Man with Taron Egerton, the Elton John story, as well as season 2 of Homecoming, show that we really enjoyed the first season of. Art, what's your Amazon recommendation?
Homecoming's my most anticipated, clearly, without a doubt. And now they got Janelle Monáe. My top 3, though, would go Come to Daddy. I know that was released on VOD and very limited earlier on in the year. It stars Frodo, I think. And it's a crazy little thriller dealing with a guy who comes home to visit his dad. And he's acting a little different. Put it to you that way. Another one that
directed by Ant Timpson, I think, who makes these kind of weird horror movies.
His interviews made me look at the movie completely different. I'll leave it that way. My second one would be Gloria. This is the original one that's coming out to Prime, with Gloria, the remake, coming out, I think, on Hulu, as you said. Great time to revisit both Glorias and have a glorious evening, I guess. South by Southwest, though, has had its Prime collaboration, and people keep asking us for our recommendations. Obviously, it's a skewed lineup because it's not everything that's at South by, but even though it took out all the headliners, that just means that all of the super, super, super indie movies get a little bit more attention. Tales from the Loop is already on Amazon, but you can catch it completely. Donut King, I've heard that they might put it because they're trying to expand with other stuff. I love both of those, but some of the big ones are My Darling Vivian, which tells the story of Johnny Cash's ex-wife, who gets like no attention whatsoever, and Cat in the Wall. Those, I think, have been like the 4 big ones from this South by Southwest that never happened that I've been able to catch. And like we said, a bunch of other ones are getting picked up elsewhere. So what are your guys' prime picks?
Yeah, I would second the South by Southwest collab. I'm very interested to
free.
see how that plays out, what kind of shorts they have on there, because I know shorts aren't really very accessible for a lot of people. So now this is your chance to see a bunch of maybe interesting shorts. And then from what's releasing, I would say Seberg interests me. I didn't catch it last year, and I heard Kristen Stewart has a very good performance in that. And she's an actress I've been very much enjoying see her come up since, Twilight.
It's got to be Homecoming, guys. I mean, that first season is amazing. Some mind-blowing stuff there. And it also comes in these nice 30-minute packages, which you don't usually get from a drama, which I love. Makes it a little easier to watch. On HBO in May 1st is also unveiling a bunch of more movies, including BlacKkKlansman, Contagion, Crazy Rich Asians, The Fighter, Jaws, La La Land, Michael Clayton, Precious, and School of Rock.
Wow.
As well as the series premiere of Betty, a new show directed by Crystal Moselle based on her movie Skate Kitchen. On May 3rd, you're getting the Season 3 finale of Westworld, as well as the finale of the docuseries Atlanta's Missing and Murdered, The Lost Children. May 4th sees the season finale of My Brilliant Friend, and May 5th is the Natalie Wood documentary. Then the week after that, you get Downton Abbey, as well as the May 10th debut of I Know This Much Is True, a limited series starring Mark Ruffalo and directed by Derek Cianfrance, the guy who made Blue Valentine, The Place Beyond the Pines, a great director there. May 16th, the Oscar-winning Joaquin Phoenix performance of Joker gets uploaded to HBO. And then on May 18th, the Hard series premiere happens. May 24th, Run has its series finale, and on May 30th, the Natalie Portman film Lucy in the Sky is made available.
Dope. My top 3 picks, all movies, surprisingly. Nocturnal Animals. I love that HBO is coming out with all these like pretty big movies. Nocturnal Animals was one of the first big like ending explained videos that blew up for me. People didn't even know it was me. My friends were like, that's your voice? I didn't know you were that smart, which really hurt. But Nocturnal Animals, I think, is a fantastic movie. We just covered in one of the brackets previously how Aaron Taylor Johnson won a Golden Globe for that performance. So that's out there. Black Knight, in case you need a little bit of a comedy. It's got Martin Lawrence going back in time and becoming a knight. And School of Rock. Jack Black considered it his favorite movie. He said if he could go back and watch any, it would be that. But the most anticipated for me, and I think you gentlemen will agree, I Know This Much Is True. Mm-hmm. That's the name of the show. I'm so excited for it. Derek Cianfrance, probably my most anticipated thing coming out of HBO. Since I saw the trailer, since I saw the teaser for this, because Place Beyond the Pines is one of my favorite, and that leaves Netflix, just so you know.
Yeah, I would agree. I Know This Much Is True. Very, very interested to see Derek Cianfrance, again, like Damien Chazelle, making a series. So that's very popular right now. And you get 2 Mark Ruffalos. He plays twins. I still don't know how they do that, but
2 for the price of 1.
Yeah, exactly. Magic. And then La La Land. I mean, if you haven't seen La La Land, it's a good catch-up to see the Eddie, also on Netflix. And then Betty, the series premiere. If you haven't seen Skate Kitchen, I don't know if it's on Amazon also. It might be on the streaming platform, but check it out.
Skate Kitchen's on Hulu.
It's on Hulu? Okay, perfect. So it's a very feel-good coming-of-age indie movie that came out a couple years ago, and this is the series of it. So I'm pretty excited for that.
Perfect.
Yeah. I would go with Run here, and you can catch up with it all month long and be ready for that series finale. Written by Vicky Jones. It's got one of the best TV scripts that I've seen all year. It just pulls you in right away. Oh. As for HBO, there's also the launch of HBO Max on May 27th. Its launch titles include Love Life, starring Anna Kendrick and following her character from her first romance to her last. And interestingly, it's supposed to be an anthology show that's going to follow a different person each season. The Looney Tunes cartoons are going to debut 80 new 1 to 6 minute shorts all premiering on the streaming service. And then you got some other shows like Craftoria, Legendary, The Not Too Late Show with Elmo, an Elmo-hosted talk show, maybe the thing I'm most excited for among the HBO Max launch titles. And then an interesting documentary, the controversial Sundance documentary, On the Record. It's about sexual abuse allegations against hip-hop mogul Russell Simmons. Oprah Winfrey was notably a producer on the project before withdrawing from the film before its premiere, which then caused Apple TV Plus to sever their own ties with the film. We are now getting it on HBO Max. So among HBO Max, what's the most exciting to you guys?
I'm going to start off with something I'm going to avoid. Anna Kendrick is in every single streaming launch for whatever reason, and she continues to be it here.
Shouts to Noelle.
Yeah, congrats to her. But it's got to go simple as this. On the Record, I think it's going to be a very interesting watch because when we got all the buzz at Sundance, it was still untitled. Oprah said no to it. They didn't go to Apple TV, but we love HBO. And for it to be picked up here, I'm very curious to see how that's going to be received. But I'm always talking about cartoons ain't the same like they used to be. They're bringing back Looney Tunes, baby. So that's my most anticipated so far.
Yeah, On the Record, it was being talked about a ton when we were at Sundance. Didn't get a chance to see it. But, it has that very controversial story surrounding it. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
Disney Plus is revisiting some of their back catalog and finally bringing it to the service in May. On May 1st, we get George of the Jungle as well as the first and second Homeward Bound film. Some nostalgia for me right there. May 2nd, John Carter, the underrated, if you ask me, directed by Andrew Stanton action flick. On May 4th, The Rise of Skywalker, the conclusion to the most recent Star Wars trilogy. And on May 22nd, Disney Plus classes it up a bit with Wes Anderson's The Fantastic Mr. Fox. A little bit weird to see a Wes Anderson title on Disney Plus, but that would definitely be my recommendation.
Definitely. Same for me.
Yeah, and Rise of Skywalker, guys. Don't forget about
Moving on.
Apple TV Plus doesn't have a lot going on next month, but they are adding Trying on May 1st, a British comedy about a couple trying to have children, finding out they're unable to conceive. It looks a little cute, looks a little bit sappy, might be a good match for people who are fans of This Is Us on NBC. Also on May 29th, Central Park. It's from the creator of Bob's Burgers, and it looks like a similarly silly animated comedy with some musical elements. It takes place in New York City and has a deep voice cast roster, including Kristen Bell, Katherine Hahn, Stanley Tucci, Josh Gad, as well as Hamilton alums Daveed Diggs and Leslie Odom Jr.
Bro, Kristen Bell.
Either of these shows stand out to you two?
I guess the Kristen Bell one, she's also at every premiere as well.
Yeah, right.
So, the Central Park one sounds probably the more interesting of the two, and one of the more interesting things Apple's had recently. I'm curious to see how they dive into their animated world, considering some of the stuff that Tim Cook will or will not allow. So...
On Showtime, May 3rd, Billions premieres its 5th season. Then, to get into some of the more niche movie services, you got the Criterion Channel, a great place to start if you're looking for some great classic films. May 1st, Mulholland Drive. May 9th, Good Morning. May 13th, It Felt Like Love, as well as two other Eliza Hittman short films, so you can get your education on the Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always filmmaker there. On May 27th, 3 films by Nicole Holofcener. And then on May 30th, the Starring Jackie Chan collection featuring films like Police Story and Police Story 2.
This is dope. For me personally, it's got to be the Eliza Hittman shorts specifically, because we really talked about Never Rarely being not only one of the best out of Sundance, but one of the best out of the year so far. I'm excited to catch that, because we always talk about the Criterion collection brings stuff out as a collection. Did you know Tony Zhao's making videos for Criterion? I'll leave it there.
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy. So they are picking up some of the best of the best. What about you guys?
Yeah, I would say, and speaking of the collections, the starring Jackie Chan collection, it's gonna have like 7 or 8 of his like older movies. So if you're into like his acting and like the kung fu style movies of the olden times, that's something I'm really interested in. And I've never seen Police Story 1 or 2, so I might check those out.
Really?
Yeah.
See, that's the dope part about Criterion, is that people think it's just like foreign films, but it's dope foreign films, and it's action films, and it's a bunch of other stuff too.
The quality.
Yeah, hard to go wrong with either of those picks. Then on Mubi, on May 2nd, they're unveiling Beanpole. On May 14th, Nosferatu. And then May 24th, the Fritz Lang classic Metropolis.
I'm going Beanpole. I don't know how many people have been able to catch this one. I know it came out at TIFF last year, and it's a little bleak. But the colors tell like a crazy story of these two women during these World War II times, and they go through something, like I said, very bleak. So not for everyone, but the director also has his first films out on virtual cinema, so he's got a lot of stuff coming out at this point.
Shudder, the horror-leaning streaming service, has Hellraiser on May 11th,
Nice.
then Monstrum on May 14th, Goodnight Mommy, which we just mentioned earlier with The Lodge, that's unveiling on May 18th, and then May 25th you get Turbo Kid, and then there's Quibi, good old Quibi, vertical or horizontal,
Hey.
which will debut the new Reno 911 on May 4th. So, do any of those shows make your top 5, or what is actually on your top 5 most anticipated for?
Look, if I were to go back to some of them, my top out of HBO, clearly, as we said, is I Know This Much Is True. I don't see how that isn't going to be one of my top things coming out of HBO. From Hulu, I'm actually most excited to see, as much as I love Rami too, it's actually going to be Painter and the Thief, because that one slipped under the radar, and everyone who saw it, while it was a smaller movie, all loved it. Coming from Prime, my favorite out of there, it's going to have to be Homecoming, or my most anticipated, Homecoming Season 2. And then from Netflix, Dead to Me. Dead to Me Season 2. I think I'm missing my VOD one. For VOD, How to Build a Girl. That is one that I missed at TIFF, and I'm very excited to catch this one because I did not wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning to see it. Now I can wake up at any time that I want to and catch it when I want to. What about you guys?
True. Yeah, for VOD, I would have to go with Capone. I mentioned earlier, seeing Josh Trank's return is going to be very interesting. For Netflix, I'm going to pick The Eddie. Huge Damien Chazelle fan, been waiting on this for a while. And also Lovebirds, because like I mentioned earlier, I like Kumail Nanjiani a lot. Also Issa Rae. And I need to know if she takes that bacon grease. And then for HBO, the Betty series I talked about earlier.
It's
and
very good.
Also, I Know This Much Is True. I mean, it's looks pretty good, so I'm excited.
Yeah. I'm going to make that a 3 out of 3 clean sweep for I Know This Much Is True. We don't get new Derek Cianfrance material very often, so I want to hop on that opportunity. Also, Homecoming. We loved that first season. It was one of my favorite seasons of television that year, and to see it come back with this drastic change, given that we're no longer getting Julia Roberts and we are getting Janelle Monáe, I have to find out what they're going to do with that. Space Force, when that eventually is on Netflix, I'm very curious about the Greg Daniels comedy because it's got a pretty interesting cast, including John Malkovich and Ben Schwartz, who are also on the show. Fred Willard, another very funny guy. Central Park, because Bob's Burgers has been like a very pleasant hangout show for me. Like, it's a show that I can kind of put on and enjoy without much complications. And Central Park looks like it's going to give you the same vibe. A lot of the same creators are behind it. But my number one most anticipated is The Eddie. As I said, does not seem like you can go wrong with Parisian Jazz Clubs, directed by Damien Chazelle and starring Andre Holland. Just like a great match there. Can't wait for that one on Netflix. But those are our most anticipated and our top 5s. Who has the best top 5, and what are your most anticipated shows and movies available to stream in May? Let us know in the comments. Let us know by hitting us up on social media at IntercutPod, or shoot us an email. It's intercutpod@gmail.com. That's it for this edition of What to Watch in May. Listen to every episode of the Intercut Podcast. We publish them every Friday to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/intercutpod, or to our audio feed you can find on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, whatever podcatcher you like. Make sure you catch our episodes. Leave us a comment, like the videos, considering heading over to iTunes to give us a 5-star review. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you next month.